Hello, can you hear me? Chaitanya?
Hi, yeah, can hear you.
Hi. Yeah. Are you done with your session?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're the only one here right now.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And yeah, we're not recording or anything as far as I can tell. I'm still kind of getting used to this
Getting used
StreamYard
to
thing.
StreamYard, yeah.
So I'll hang out for like, I don't know, 5, 10 minutes. If no one shows up, I'll just call
Okay.
it next week. You all right?
Yeah. Drank water, but
Oh, okay.
got like a bubble stuck in me.
So what comes in your mind just in terms of the topic?
Um, Nothing in particular, really. Let me go back to it again, remind myself what you wrote.
Oh, essentially the
Rig Veda's
Mahapurusha, Vira
Mahapurusha. Oh,
versus
okay. Mm-hmm.
the Rasa-Mandala. Like,
Yeah.
do you visually or just imaginatively think anything that draws those two together?
Um, Not really. I mean, I get the yeah, I don't know how the Bhagavad Gita connects Virat Purusha, understand Mahapurusha, Virat Purusha versus the Rasamandala.
Yeah,
No.
kind of like a compare contrast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, basically, I'm essentially just using the concept that there are, for example, in the Rig Veda, in the
Hmm.
Purusha Sukta, and
Hmm.
also in other portions of the Rig Veda, so, that we have the Ashta Dikpalas. So a dik
Hmm.
is a direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have the 8 directions that come out laterally from our body, right? Four
Mm-hmm.
fingers, four fingers. So, right, east, west, north, south.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the devas who preside over those directions.
Hmm.
And so they're the palas or the protectors, just like Gopala is the protector of the go, right? The things that go, like the senses and the cows, right?
Hmm.
Each of these devas presides over, or pala, they protect them. They're the
Hmm.
pals of those 8. And so now we have 2. So we have an adibautic, or the physical directions,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we have an adhyatmic,
Hmm.
or right, devas, devata,
Hmm.
that preside over, or and also embody those 8 physical adibautic directions. And now we have the 8 rasas, right, of the rasa mandala,
Hmm. Hmm.
right, which would basically be like the 8 directions.
Hmm.
And then who embodies those? Well, the ashtasakis,
Hmm.
the 8 gopis that embody those 8 divine moods.
Hmm.
And then you can say Radha Krishna. We could start with the right adibautic of right Purusha Prakriti,
Hmm.
or that which is the unmanifest and the manifest,
Hmm.
right? And then right on that same platform as the devatas that sit on the physical directions,
Hmm.
right? You can say they're like, just like Meru versus the outer circle, right? You have a Lakshmi Narayan and so on. So in
Hmm.
the Radha Krishna sit in the middle,
Oh, right, I
whereas
see.
the 8 gopis surround.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we see is with any of these depictions, whether we're looking at physical directions, whether we're looking at the devatas that preside over those directions, right? Or whether we're looking at, right, Radha Krishna with the gopis surrounding them,
Hmm.
all of these have a common unchanging figure
Hmm.
or a structure,
Yeah.
and they all have kind of like two things, and there's a figure in the center, an entity in the center, and then right, multiple figures surrounding the center.
Right. Oh.
And so there's only one entity here, you can say, in that sense,
Mm.
and there's just different ways in which that entity is appearing depending on how we're seeing that entity or thinking about that entity or in relationship with that entity.
Right.
But it's still one entity. And no matter where or how we're seeing or relating to that entity will still have the same basic structure or format. There's something in the center.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
eight, you can, right, 8 divisions around the circle. And, how big or small that circle is, right? Up or down is also, interesting as well. In terms of like the Adidaivic perspective, right? The Tamasic perspective will be, a single point, and giving kind of like undifferentiation everywhere else. And the only real differentiation is that single thing and that single moment, present tense, what's going on right now, kind of. And that's like, you can say animals, yakshas, rakshasas, right, are imbued with that tamas,
Right.
Anyway, so that's the basic idea, is that we can understand whatever subject we're kind of thinking about by this real interesting Vedic way of looking at whatever it is we're thinking, whatever subject we kind of say we're thinking about is none other than the single only entity that there is. And that we can therefore just sort of study that and say, okay, what's the central thing here? And what are the sort of many things that make it up, that serve as its body?
Yeah.
Okay, here we have Afreen here.
I was in the waiting room.
Oh no.
Maybe there's more
Where's the
people in the waiting room.
Where's the waiting room? How do I get there? I don't even know there was a waiting room.
Let me come
You will
round and
see
have
a
it.
backstage over there.
Let's see here. I don't even know there was a waiting room. Where's the waiting room? Maybe if you close that thing? No? You'd think it would tell me that there are people in the waiting room, right?
Well, how did you see her?
She just came.
Check the group.
Oh, I thought you could
Just
go here. Oh, Freen said.
It's just one.
But it didn't even ask me to let her in. She just came. I just saw her. I didn't see any. Maybe it's in here. That's manage layouts.
Guests. Maybe do that, so then you know. Guest must fail.
I don't say that. Right.
I think that's it then.
Yeah. I think people will just pop on automatically, it seems like, right? Afreen, when you came, Afreen, to the waiting room?
Actually, I was in the waiting room for 10 minutes, and then
10 minutes.
Yes, then I thought you are not able to see me. I dropped a text also. Then I went away, and then again I rejoined, and that's how I popped up.
Okay, well I don't I
Can't see anyone else.
I don't see anyone else waiting. Maybe it was because you just signed on before I had actually started the stream that it did that. I don't know, but I don't see any place where I can, where people will be waiting for me to let them in or anything like that. Anyhow, let's just carry on then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's just us for today
Miss anything?
so far. Ananta Krishna is talking about coming, but so far I don't see him. So let's see. I'm just pouring my hot water here. Okay, so I'll start with, I was just informally speaking with my wife there for a minute. Okay, so I'll formally begin, and we'll just do a little invocation with the first shloka of Bhagavad. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya yatonvayari tarataschaarteshva vignaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Mohyante Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Mradang Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrishal Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so our topic is basically looking at the Mahapurusha of the Shrutis, the Virat Purusha of the, right, you can say the Itihasa, Purana, Smriti, essentially, and then the, right, Ashtasakis, who embody the, right, the Rasa Mandala, and how these three, right, form into one common, right, form or figure. And so previously we had looked at the Chatur Shloki, and I'm sticking essentially with the Chatur Shloki here. And in the Chatur Shloki of the Bhagavad Gita that we started with, right, we start with Sri Krishna saying, everything is me, everything emanates from me, or is situated in me, actually the Sanskrit, and furthermore, all these things that are situated in me, the way they're behaving, the way they develop, or the patterns that they move in, pravartate, that's my pattern. They're going according to my energy. And iti matva, that thus knowing, and matva, right, that's like also, right, we've talked a lot about manaha, mind, and how the, right, that bhava will have anubhava or echo into the body, right? Once we have been fixed, we have a vibhava, basically a cause of our bhava. Anyway, that iti matva bhajante mam, that bhaj, we look deeply into the word bhaj, that to simply regard something, to be actually seeing it, that person, that thing, right, is in essence means worship, to regard, right? To simply, for us, for example, we can just to be seen as we are and regarded for what we are, for who we are, as we are, right? There's a great deep respect simply in that. Okay, so once we see that what Sri Krishna is saying, as he is, who he is, what he is, then just to do that is to do his bhajan, to do his bhaj. Buddha bhava samanvitaha. And so the now from there, once that, right, manaha, we're in that state, the Buddha will then be able to start discriminating on that basis, right? And samanvitaha, right, all the things in their variety will be seen according to that. And today we're going to shift a little bit into looking at the rasa side of things. And as you know, I study in Rasa Shastra a lot, and so the 8 sthayi bhavas and the 8 rasas basically have like a masculine and feminine matching in them, and how they essentially, okay, we have 4 couples, right? Really that are the same thing in 4 directions, 4 situations in a circle. And here we have these 4 shlokas, which we've talked about as being like a Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, right? And how even those 4 form a continuum, or, right, beginning, secondary, right, and a finish, a moksha. And so we went through the Bhagavad Gitas where, okay, Sri Krishna in both the Bhagavad Gita and in the Bhagavata, right, first set the stage by saying Sri Krishna is everything, right? And how he's everything in two ways. Just the very existentially he's everything, but also the way that things are various and the way they behave in various ways. That's both of those are coming from him. And then Matchita Madgataha Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Katiyantash Mam Nityam Tushanti Charavanticha, that once we're situated there, the way that we're going to engage with each other socially, right, is going to be on that basis. And it's through that process of spending time with each other from that situation that we get enlightened by enlightening one another. And in here, we want to go back to the first shloka and see how, okay, there's all these varieties of manifestation that are all part of Sri Krishna's manifestation. And since Sri Krishna is that infinite, immeasurable one entity, all of us are going to have a very unique perspective on that one. And by sharing our various unique perspectives, we enlighten each other about that, right, central entity that we're both beholding. And so furthermore, Sri Krishna says that Tesham Satatiyuktanam and Tesham Ivanukam Partam, the 3 and the 4 shloka, that by engaging in this process, right, he's going to give us just by being in his bhajan and engaging in satsang with each other. Then the Buddha, right, he enlightens us, or he gives us enlightened intelligence. So the way we're going to be able to discriminate things and differentiate things, right, inside of that bhava, he's going to give that from within. Okay, and then in the Bhagavatam, slightly different, but still right in the same basic theme, we see the stages set that aham, right, I, right, was there, eva, aham evasam eva agre, in the agre, in the beginning, and the first part, right, and also paschataham, right, in the end, or after, it's also going to be me. And yovashishyeta, as things are existing now even, it's me. So now that we got that, then the next thing, he goes into the diversity again. Rite artham yat pratyeta. So, right, one of my favorite words, rita, rhythm, right? But also in some way that we perceive something, any diverse object. We may think this is a separate or different thing. And he says in that case, if you're seeing some separate, diverse thing, and you don't recognize this as Atmani, or the source of Atma, right, individual, separate self, then you're just seeing my Maya. And we went through diverse meanings of Maya, 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 right, all these different ways that the word forms, but they all essentially mean, right, a thing's energy or the stuff that it's made of. And since Sri Krishna is the absolute entity, right, all of his things, right, will be absolute in nature. And the only way we're truly going to understand any of those things of the absolute are really going to be if we have an absolute perspective. Well, that would make us the absolute, but we're not that. So everything we're going to perceive will be in some type of maya, right, or bewilderment or delusion, right, not being able to cognize that thing. And so Sri Krishna basically is saying, know that to be, right, my Maya, if you're not seeing this object and that object as Atmani, as me. And so next shloka he says that etavad eva jignyasam, that just in this way that I've told you, right, tattva jignyasa, all the people who are inquiring to know the truth, who are, right, inquisitive, right, will be able to understand. And he gives the method that just as we see like fire or any element, right, present before us, like if we have a candle flame, we can understand that fire is here, but the Maha, right, Bhuta, the great element of fire, is not contained in this single candle flame. Just in that same way, I am not contained within any single person or entity, right? But rather, right, that is one reflection of my absolute nature. So in that same way. And so then now we're going to go to the Chaturshloki of Mahaprabhu Vallabhacharya, where he right lays out the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha in the same way. And yes, this relates very much to our basic topic here of right these Virat Purusha versus the Rasa Mandala. So Dharma is the intrinsic, salient, right, definitive features of a thing, and that's called a lakshana, right? That which characterizes or defines or qualifies a thing, right? And you can say defines or qualifies, right, are two sides of the same coin. Right, we can say fire has heat and light, you know, and if the object, right, doesn't have those qualities, then it is not fire. And fire, by having those qualities, will naturally have a behavioral side of Dharma, that it will behave in that way. So Sri Krishna in these first shlokas of both of these Chaturslokis is laying out the basic Dharma of reality, which he is. So here's the canvas of reality. Everything is him, nothing but him. And whether we're talking about its situation or its behavior, both him. And then the Artha, right? Common ways we use Artha, meaning, like the dictionary definition of a word, is its Artha, its meaning. And then we're quite familiar with Artha in terms of economics, wealth, right? Value exchange in a group. And we can think of the Artha or meaning of a word. Okay, this word, water, right, has a dictionary meaning, has a particular, right? Now, inside of the whole world of naman, or nameable things, nouns, each has a particular value. And they all rely on each other to be able to be differentiated. And so there's now a whole exchange community set up where we can all exchange values and build things that everyone wants to have. So the Artha, whether we think about it in terms of economics or the Artha in terms of meaning, right, is now being disclosed as still nothing but Sri Krishna. It's all him, but he's part of the way that he is, and the way he thus manifests is in a diverse way in order for there to be room for exchange. So just like the Bhagavad Gita's second shloka, Dharma Artha, right? That matchita madgataha prana bodhayanta parasparam katyayantaschamam nityam tushyant, right? So those who are, right, situated in this understanding of who I am, they can now have satsang. They talk with one another parasparam, right? They go back and forth with each other. Katyayantash, right? They have kata, right? And bodhayanta, they inspire and enlighten each other in this way. And so you see the Artha, right? That meaning, that exchange of value from diverse, right, things inside of, right, that one manifestation is there again. And then in the Bhagavata's second shloka, Artha shloka, Rite Artham Yat Pratiyeta. So if we see some Artha, some value, this is water, this is fire. Yat Pratiyeta, so we're Pratiyeta, apprehending, right? We appreciate or apprehend this value here. But na Pratiyeta, cha, also. But at the same time, cha, we don't, na Pratiyeta, Atmani. We're not seeing this is Atmani, right? Then tat, right? Then that thing that we're seeing, right? He says that's my Maya, diluting potency, you can say. But at the same time, in order to understand what that Maya means also, he's also saying Maya, it's my, mine. Maya also means mine, Maya, when we say it that way. right? Maya means the stuff that I'm made of. So in this way of using it, Maya, we're seeing him, but we're not cognizing correctly that it's him. So Maya is not, as Sri Krishna speaks about it, as the Vedas speak about it, that's different from the way a lot of what they call themselves Advaita Vedantins think about it. They think of Maya as a separate thing. Whereas the way it's described in the Bhagavad here and in the Chaturshloki, it's the way we cognize things, the way we're thinking about it. Because where Sri Krishna is saying, if we see things for what they are, we're going to see, oh, this is Atmani, this is Sri Krishna. And we'll have a very different experience with diverse objects and people when we see them all, everything, as right, a variety of manifestation and representation of Sri Krishna, versus it's an illusion. Right? We'll get completely different experience. And since everything's Krishna, we're still experiencing Krishna, fine, right? But it's a very different thing to, right, an experience of Sri Krishna that we'll get by seeing him as Atmani or seeing him as Maya, a delusion, right? Okay, so that's the Artha. So we have Dharma, Artha, right? And then the Kama, right? The impetus, desire, Tejas, fire, right? And so on, right? Tesham satata yuktanam, right? Those who want to be connected to me, yukta, right? Yoga, bhajatam priti, and with love, right? So this is the Kama verse, right? Desire, love, connection, right? Dadami, I give, right? Unto those people who come to me with desire, with love, to be connected to me, yukta, right? Buddhi yogam tam, right? So I give them this buddhi yoga. So some people, we may think of buddhi yoga as by me developing intelligence and, right, building this intellectual machine with a lot of study and so on. I'm going to build my bridge, right? Like Ravana builds up this, huge staircase up to Swarga. Like the Christians talk about the Tower of Babel, right? And so on. This is, so Sri Krishna says, I'm giving by that inspiration of love we reach out. He gives through inspiration a development, a natural development of buddhi or intelligence or discrimination, right? Will come from him. He'll give that. So that's right. The Kama verse, and then the Moksha verse of all of them, right? So in Bhagavad Gita, Tesham Satata Tesham Evanukam Partam Aham Jnanajam. So I'm gonna, right, and then destroy Nashyam Yatma, right? I'm gonna destroy the darkness born of ignorance. Jnana Deepena, with the Deepa, the lamp of knowledge from within the heart. And in the Bhagavata, right, the inquirer, the Jignyasa. So, etavad eva jignyasam, tattva jignyasuna atmanaha, anvaya vyaktirekabhyam, yat syat sarvatra sar. So, sarvatra sarvada, in all situations, in all ways, anyone who's inquiring after the truth, right, can simply, as I apply this system, as I've simply given, right, and really just, 2-3 shlokas, in any situation can find out the truth, right, of things as they are, simply by applying this simple method, right? And it's very simple, and but it's not, again, it's not by my power, by my intellect that I've built up and so on, but rather everything is based on the first shloka is really, if you just do that, everything, he's just really describing the side effects of the first shloka, which is really situating ourselves in Krishna consciousness, and that consciousness of, that he's everything, and the details, how he goes into how he's everything, right? So that it covers every way that our intellect and our mind and our senses function, that all of these experiences layered, that's all him. And by situating ourselves in there, a natural process, he's going to help us through making the intellectual connections, and we'll be enlightened like that and be able to see him everywhere as everything. Now, how does this apply to the Virat Purusha and the Mahapurusha and then the Rasa Mandala and so on? So the point here is, like as Sri Krishna is saying in the last shloka of the Bhagavatam's Chatur Shloki, etavat eva jignasam, tattva jignasam, like whatever, sarvatra sarvada, in all situations, sarvatra sarvada, at all times, this system, for those who are inquiring, will give them direct and indirect, understanding of that situation, Vyaktirekabhyam, Ekabhyam will give them that, how everything's singular, and Vyakti, how everything is, has variety, in it. And so, Mahapurusha, Virat Purusha, are essentially, you can say a metaphor, as the Bhagavatam says, this is a metaphorical, big, personal Purusha form that lets us look at all of the unending diversity we see, the Ananta Rupa, the unending form, that we see here, as one big personal entity. So that's the one opposite of it's diverse, it's everywhere. It's, his arms and legs are everywhere, Tare jati tadnai jati taddure tadvantike tarus. This is Ishopanishad. He's near but far. He runs but stays still. He's inside but everything outside as well, and so on. And so the Purusha Sukta goes through this in detail, but there's also other passages. Now, however, all of these diverse things are arranged inside of an Ashta Dika, or 8 directional, thing, even in the Rig Veda, in the Shrutis, and in the Smriti literature, Itihasa, Purana, all of these, the Brahmanda, or the divine egg, is the entity that depicts this same thing. Ashtadik, 8 directions coming out laterally that form the belly of that egg. And Brahma is the head of that human figure that is Sri Krishna's large body, and Ananta Shesha are at the feet, and the center, the Nabi, just like on our own belly button, is Mount Meru, Mount Meru has a widening mountain here, which is just like here, on which Brahma is situated. And so here we see all the diversity being tied into a gradually simplified system. Okay, and we have 8 categories, directions, that this diversity is going to be situated in. And then, so these are physical directions we can all observe here, north, south, east, west, and where they meet, southeast, northeast, northwest, southwest. Now, the Ashta Dik Palas, the Dik direction Pala protectors, are the 8 main devatas: Indra, Agni, Yamaraj, Naruti, Varuna, Vayavya, Vayu, Kubera, and Shiva. And they are all situated in these 8 directions. The central figure being this, Mahapurusha, and these 8 directional devas are really like his limbs, his man, just as we have, okay, it's an arm, but you can't really separate that arm from me. Like Srila Prabhupada would use this concept all the time, that if you cut off the hand, can you really call it a hand? Because a hand really has its artha, its meaning, or the other meaning of artha, value, both tied together as a part of my body. So is Indra or is Shiva, Varuna or Yamaraj, are these separate entities? So here with this Mahapurusha figure, we're drawing in all the diversity we see and giving us like a medium step here to go from the Adibhuta, the gross physical manifestation, and starting to be able to categorize it, at least, and see, okay, categorically, this is the way Krishna expresses himself in terms of air, in terms of fire, right? In terms of even different aspects of psychology, like my sense of individual self, my, you know, the way that I think, right? These are all just, right, his features. Okay, now, then we get into Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and then Srimad Bhagavatam. So we went from the Shruti, right? And then getting into the Smriti, when you can say, like, you know, Brahma Sutra, and then the Itihasas and so on start to create this Virat Purusha, as opposed to just this Mahapurusha has real basic elements, essentially. Devata, there are just kind of referred to as natural powers that belong to the Mahapurusha. And then in the Smritis, that Mahapurusha is given more personal features. Brahma is the head, Shiva is the feet, right? Yamaraj is like his right arm, Kubera is like his left arm, right? And so on. And the left is like the upper mountains, right? And the Yamaraj is the outer circle around the Mount Meru, right? And so on. But now in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, now Krishna in Bhagavad Gita comes himself and says, actually, I'm the Mahapurusha. And he even shows Arjuna a partial manifestation of that diverse and varied form that he is. And lets us know that hey, this is me. And so by all of the Vedas, I am to be known, right? Aham sarvasya cha aham hridi sanivastu, right? Matta smritya jnanam apohanam cha Vedaishcha sarvar aham eva vedya. I am to be known by all the Vedas. And indeed, I am the maker, I'm that which the Vedas come from. I'm the compiler of the Vedas, right? It's all basic. So anyways, we can therefore understand things well when, just like his first shloka, you first start from the understanding that everything is me. Then we can start categorically, right? Understanding how Krishna, right, manifests himself diversely. And if we take that piece by piece, we can say, okay, with each diverse large category, there's some time that we can spend with each thing, right? Indra, right? And Indra, right? With the Indriyas or the senses. And Indra is the master of the senses. Kind of like, if I'm going to do something here, I have to have a particular specified role or an Artha, right? To have relationship, to interact. But I'm not really going to understand that role that I have if I'm not understanding it in context. That this role is not me and it's not mine. No, right? Mamta and ahamta, right? Me and mine. This role is Krishna's role. It's actually an aspect of him that I'm playing for him, where he's giving this role to me that belongs to him actually, and giving me a chance to, right, get to know myself through this role that he's given me. So that's the Indra part, for example. And when we sit in that Indra thing, right, and that, okay, I'm the master of these senses, and I'm the king of this realm here. And now, right, Krishna gives the king orders, inspires that Raja Rishi, right, that saintly king from within, from the center, right? Radha Krishna is in the center. And here's Indra as the first, right? My eyes open up. The sun comes above the horizon, Indra. Okay, now what's the order, O king? Well, the king has, right, is always looking up to here, to Brahma, who's directly in touch, right? He's born from Vishnu's navel. And so the king, we should, just by spending time there, how is this role, Sri Krishna's role? And what does he want me to do with it? And as we, right, thread that, even that one dimension, that first dimension in, right, that simple idea of how Krishna is diversely here can be connected from this very high, right, abstract, non-specific concept or philosophy into the Adibhuta, my physical actual form here. And how this is, right, very clearly I can now, Buddhi Yoga, by my intelligence just being situated as this is all Krishna, gradually it starts to see, because Krishna has desired me to play this kind of a role, I have this kind of a physical form. I have this kind of an identity that I've formed. I have these kind of desires and this kind of drive. I can provide this kind of thing to my community and group, and so on. And all of this becomes devoid of anxiety and fear because, oh, Krishna, this is Krishna. I'm already situated in him. And then the Agni, right? The fire to execute that will. The fire that will manifest in our system, the taijas, the brilliance, the ichha, the desire will be very different, which is born from this situation in Krishnashray. Okay, and that's just 2 little steps. I won't go through the whole 8 right now because now I'm just trying to sort of draw this bigger picture of how we have these chatur shlokis that all form a Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, right, structure, right, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I've also given Vallabhacharyas, that's the more, right, Rasa Lila, the Rasa Mandala version of things. But how, whether we're looking at the, right, the adibhotic sense of north, south, east, west, and in our body even, right, my forward, back, right, left, up, down, right, or whether we're looking at the, right, Vedic perspective of devatas, or whether we're looking at the 8 gopis, the 8, right, sakhis that surround Radha Krishna in the Rasa Mandala, we can see the figure of a single center with a front, a back, side, up, down, is common in everything. And so even if, for example, a philosopher can, through power of their logic, simply grasp that, there is one entity that we're all perceiving, and just by starting there, right, as Sri Krishna says, right, etavad eva jignyasam, tattva jignasunat, by inquiring in this way, we will gradually find. So I'm just going to stop here and say, okay, so we can see this kind of sphere around our body and kind of the entire creation in sort of a spherical metaphor here, and see how there's 8 directions going around it, representing, right, the variety, categorical variety that is possessed by that central entity, and see that at work in our own body. And we can therefore understand all the varieties of Vedic teachings, you know, the diverse religious, political, social structures everywhere, as actually, oh, these are all forming, they all form in the same way or around the same structure. And all these literatures, all these disciplines, all these careers, whatever it may be, are kind of just various manifestations on this one structural thing. They're all saying the same thing, which is, right, Krishna's name. Okay? Naman, that which is named, the Nam-i, that which is being named. Okay? I'll stop there, and then let's just take a turn and share any, you know, any reflections or thoughts that come up with that introduction. Chaitanya, please tell us what you got for us.
Yeah, thank you. God, yeah, there were so many points that you raised that are fascinating, really. You know, particularly the point that you made about Maya, and you know how the difference between how Mayavadis or impersonalists, you know, will understand Maya versus a Vaishnava perspective, really, which is more of a kind of state of consciousness and how you see the world, which I love. And you know, when I understood this in, you know, my journey, I suppose, Krishna consciousness years ago, I came across that, you know, and that switch in my mind was really welcomed and quite quick, actually, because I got it. It just made sense to me. But then, yeah, this principle of directions and 8, you know, and then the different representations, and yeah, it's interesting because someone I know, you know, does the decorations on the altar in Mayapur,
Uh-huh.
the Astasakis, and you know
Mm,
how each different gopi has their particular
mm,
speciality, I suppose, of
right.
service. And you know, this person was asking me about astrology because it was Chitra Devi's birthday, and so
Mm,
they
mm,
put
mm,
so they wanted Krishna's birth chart, and so I found some particular astrology things because Chitra Devi is the gopi that does astrology. And
mm,
so I gave, you know, the birth charts and everything, and they're on the altar. Like I just saw a picture and video today of, you know, the. So that was anyway. It was just a personal kind of like, oh, that's nice. You
yeah.
know, my input ended up, you know, on the altar. But this principle anyway of like Krishna's variety, like the variety. I like I really like
Virat, variety.
variety, Virat. Yeah.
Varata, variety.
Yeah. So, yeah, just this understanding that eh, everything sits within Krishna's domain, and there's a variety, you know, within this world and that form in the eight directions, and how the devas play into that, and then also more personally related to Krishna's Leela, and you know the variety that is there within the gopis, which you know I don't know so much about, but I know some things. But yeah, just it's a nice principle that you're, you know, sharing here of the commonality, yeah, of that. So
Hmm,
yeah, thanks.
lovely.
Mhm.
Hmm. Well, I know that you're studying Jyotisha and, Chitra, right, as one of the main nakshatras, right, the 27
Yeah, that's one of the
nakshatras, and
nakshatras, yeah.
basically we see the same thing, right? You have the whole Jyotish concept in a picture is a circle with a center,
Mm-hmm.
right? And however we're going
Yeah.
to divide that circle up, the point is still in the middle, right? And that however you say, okay, there's four main, and there are, right? Even in the
Mm.
Bhagavad, there's cardinal signs, right?
Yeah. And
There's
also
four. Yeah, go ahead.
the sorry, the devas that you outlined, you know, Indra, Kubera, they all sit within the circle of
Yeah,
the chart as well. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead. Just wanted to add that.
yeah. And just like any one of us who are understood to be, right,
Mm.
angsha or part manifestations of the angshi, that which we are an amsha of,
Mm.
we can see that, okay, if we put ourselves in the center of that figure, we'll see the exact same, right, sense of like, okay, you could kind of boil us down into one basic thing or two basic things. I'm either like this sometimes or I'm like that sometimes. But then there's more diversity, and so you have a two, a four, and you have like an eight, and then you're gonna have
Mm.
27, which is right dividing a quarter into three, dividing a
Yeah.
third into three, and dividing each of those thirds into three. But it's still all inside of four,
Yeah.
right? And then you get the 27, making
Yeah.
and then making 108. So no matter how we divide things, and some of us will, because of our discipline or our career or whatever, go deeper into things such as Jyotish, but some of us will never. And some don't even possess the intellectual faculty to grasp a lot of these things and to be able to visualize a lot of detail in an imagined figure. But the point,
Mm.
right, is really, as Sri Krishna says, right, that we can all, and we all do have, right, some darshan, some relationship that we're already in with him. And especially us coming here, right? We possess some form of that. And it's by really spending time situated in that. And that's the idea of like the bhava idea. Then it's like, right? Like you were saying, I don't exactly understand which of the 8 gopis embodies exactly what kind of characteristic, and how Swamini Radha, right, Krishna's feminine counterpart, is, manifesting variously in these different ways, and how, so on and so on. But
Mm.
by just like a simple child or an animal, right, can take part in Sankirtan because it's rhythmic, because it has melody dancing inside of a rhythm. In the same way, all of us can, in any simple way, already right now be just situated in it. And it sort of takes on a life of its own, right? Just when you heard some of the things I'm saying, well, that, right, just sparks off some lamp in you, and you're going to see
Yeah.
diverse things. You share them back to me. Right now we're doing the second verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Madchita madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam. By parasparam, right, chit chat,
Mm-hmm.
we bodhayanta, we enlighten one another. Bodha, right, buddhi.
Mm. Yeah.
And it just takes on a life of its own in that way. It's the beautiful thing. So we we don't need to have chinta or anxiety that, oh, I've got to know all these things and acquire all these skills, and it's like so little time here. But it's rather by letting go of all that and just being situated in Krishna's ashray. It's kind of like backwards is forwards.
Mm.
Sometimes I give a nice example. It's like, okay, if we have a bead on a string, and we throw the bead, backwards, that's kind of what makes it shoot forward.
Yeah. Pull back to go
Anyways,
forward.
okay, let's give Afrina.
Thanks. Yes. And
Yeah.
also, I just want to say hi, Afreen, because we've had some exchanges on Instagram, but we've not actually officially I've not seen you. I think it's a good opportunity when it's.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, you're audible now. Yeah.
Yeah, because of your channel and everything you post on Instagram, I was able to meet him, and that's how I was connected with Bhima Prabhu, and a lot of things I've learned. Like every week we take a session, and it's just so wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad you're able to get some support through. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, same here.
Yeah, it's
Go ahead,
been
go.
really nice to have you here this week, Chaitanya. I love, it was like it's funny, you're in the other room here, but we don't often,
I know.
but we don't often get this kind of time to just, be in
Yeah.
satsang and share realizations.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
it's
love
different.
it.
It's different. It's different when we're just talking, or when you're talking
Yeah.
philosophy, just like, here it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I can pay more attention
Yeah,
than
totally.
normally when we're talking. But
Yeah.
it's funny as well that like the time I come,
Mm-hmm.
most people aren't here. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's see
it's funny,
next
yeah.
week. But yeah, go ahead, Afreen.
So over here, like as you mentioned about Maya and Maya as Advaita and other schools of thought, they say like it's separate, Mayavadis. So it was very interesting point as you mentioned. But over here, I had a question like if Maya also arises from Krishna, like it's not separate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why do we have materialistic desires?
Huh. So why do we have materialistic desire if Maya is part of Krishna, kind of a thing? Is that, am I getting you? Right.
Yes.
Okay, well, there's many ways I could answer. I'll just go. Bhagavatam kind of says, okay, the mind, manaha, its natural state, so its original form, our mind here, right, is sattvic. It's situated in pure sattva, goodness. It just, in other words, right, we perceive things just as they are. The truth of that object is right there, and our mind perceives it in that way. So because our ahankar, my sense of self, has been that, you can say, like, here's my sentence. I am, and I've, all of us, because we have ahankar, a sense of role or doership, right? Ahamkara, I am doing, I'm doer. We will, as we are born into a body, we will be compelled in one way or another, consciously or unconsciously, that will be filled in, right? And so this ahankar, right, has a, in the Bhagavatam is, right, the sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, right, sense of self is there. And so depending on the quality, like how well did we construct our ahankar, right, could say, how fully developed or mature is my ahankar? How well does it function? But also, what is the quality of the ahankar I have constructed inside of there? Will then downstream. So we have, right, the ahankar, then the intellect, according to my I am Bhima karma, that intellect will now naturally a structure. So this is like Krishna says, right, in the Chaturshloki part we went through, right, that mama vartante, right, the varta, the way that things will form. Right, so just based on I am this, right, look, here's my mother, here's my father, here's my surroundings, and they see me like this, and I look in the mirror, and these words and this food, we start to form this sense of self about, right, I am this, I am like this, and I accept this naman, this name. I am, I am a, right, balaha, I am a girl, right, I am a, right, whatever. And my name, they call me Afrin, and so on and so on. And so the desire, right, will then, in the manaha, down from the buddhi. So this framing that naturally develops alongside my sense of self, this framing of this mirror or lens, right, will affect how it is focusing on the object. So I'm thinking of myself, even. How will I see myself? What do I identify as myself, and how do I focus on it, is all developing as a byproduct of this ahankar. And so even my desire, which is downstream from there, right, here. So you can say, right, buddhi, right, and then, here, in the manaha. I'm going to say, okay, based on who I think I am, desire is one, right? But I'm now having this lens focused in a certain way. And so now when I perceive that desire, that sattvic mind is now, right, being adjusted by the ahankar, and it will perceive that desire in a certain way. Right, so that's kind of like, you can say, the mechanism that we're all dealing with. So in other words, a lot of people are looking at different yogas, or they go to even externally to some type of medicine or some exercise or some diet or something to try to adjust this. Why am I not, right, having enough stamina or enough enthusiasm or enough, this or that? And they'll try to make some adjustments, and you can see there's a lot of complicated pieces working here. But in this really nice, simple way that Krishna is giving, right, he sums it all up very nice and simply. By simply first just, who am I? I am, right, aham sarvasya prabhava, mattaha sarvam pravartate, right? Where our existence rests in Sri Krishna. So by staying there for a minute, he gives us buddhi, right? Our intelligence will start developing there, and a sense of identity will start developing from that. Now our ahankar will start to adjust and be redefined inside of there. And now, I want, right, will start changing. So, but that's literally just a side effect. Because without doing that, really developing this bhav of who I am and getting experience there, actually, I may go and say, I should want, right, to be a devotee. I should want, to eat only prasad and these kind of religious sort of attitudes. And we can try to, without having transformed my ahankar, go and force myself and twist my arm, and like literally I'm taking my arm with one hand and saying, do this, pick it up, put it over there, you know, but I didn't really change anything. I'm doing some willful exercise based on a philosophical understanding. But Sri Krishna's system here is by bhava, by sitting here and actually just, we will gather, right, like a baby, right? The baby takes time. And they always look at the parent, right, to see, okay, when I did this, when I threw this thing, or when I ate this food, or and I pooped, or I did whatever, we look at the parent. So para, the other, and right, also para, the greater one. And we see the reflection in the relationship. Did they like that? Did they not like that? And this is the way we start building the ahankar. So we need to look at Sri Krishna. So first of all, we have to, right, okay, how do I look at Sri Krishna? Right, so now you see, now that bead, we're going backwards. Now the process backwards. Oh, but this is too confusing. This is really, yeah, that's the beginning of the process of being disoriented. How is a baby being born? They're completely, you know, have no even language to think with. All there is sights and sounds and undifferentiated existence. Sometimes they feel happy and they don't even have a word to say. To themselves, they just feel this way or that way, and their body it's just all going on. And we have to go back. What is this Krishna? Actually, and we have to now start gaining some experience, and that's why it's important to have guru or someone who is in relationship with Krishna and can then tell us, now you are relating to Krishna, now you are not. And we can then build experience and then we want to get direct experience depending on that relationship we can establish and our whole ahankar. So it's this central process, we can just keep putting all of our energy and intelligence and so on into that. And our desire, every little teeny bit, right? Neha bikramana shosti pratyavayo navid, right? Even swalpam, sva alpa, one's own, but a little bit of progress that we make on this, our process, sva, one's own, even alpa, a little bit, right? Trayate mahato bhayat, right? It can save us from maha, from the greatest bhaya type of fear. So, right, desire is all based on, that's my, simple, not so simple answer. But, my effort here is just to try to say that there's a lot of complicated stuff involved, and a lot of people give a lot of complicated answers because it is a complicated thing that goes from our ahankar downstream to making our desire. And instead of looking at, let me change my desire, or why do I desire bad things, right? We can keep it simple. And just first goal is situate ourselves in relationship to Sri Krishna. And there may be things involved with that, but that's the central thing. And Sri Krishna is telling us, just do that. And from there, everything desirable will come, right? Just water that root of the tree, so to speak. Okay, I'll stop there because, anyway. So I saw your hand, but let me have Afreen first of all.
Have Afreen,
Yeah.
Thank you for the explanation. It made sense. So, we have to situate ourselves with Krishna, right? And that's how the desire, what we really desire, builds up. What is the actual desire? As we discuss about desire. One more question I had, related to the same thing.
Okay, well, before you keep, can you keep a bookmark on that question? Next one, just because Chaitanya also had some, I think, reflection on this piece before we move on to another one. Yeah, go ahead, Chaitanya.
Yeah, Afreen, I was just gonna say something from a little bit of a kind of Jyotish perspective, which I think you might appreciate because you're interested in astrology as well. But it also ties into, you know, the whole Bhima Karma, the whole topic of the Sangha. But I suppose the way I understand that, you know, because it's a really good question, the way you asked the question about Maya, but then material desires. My understanding is, you know, because we are born in this realm, and therefore we have a form in this life that is of the five, you know, elements, the material elements. It means that we all have a certain coloring, I should say. You know, we all have a certain condition, right? And, you know, in astrology, we see that when we look at someone's birth chart, we can see that, okay, all of the material elements that, you know, Bhima Karma you're talking about, what's highlighted in the Virat Purusha and the directions, all of that, when we are born at a certain place at a certain time, they all align in a certain way, right? Depending on the planets in the sky. And so our time of birth in this form, in this body, is designed in a particular way that then creates a certain karmic output, which also creates a certain type of desire for this body in this world. So I have a particular desire to be, I've had a particular desire in my life to be a psychotherapist, to help other people. Okay, now one could see that as a material desire, or one could see it as, oh, it's a service to Krishna. It's really how I decide to see what my desire is, right? And also, you know, there's different levels of, or I should say, different qualities of desires, and that's again the formation of the sky and how that influences us in this life will produce a more like kind of tamasic desire, right? Or more sattvic desire, but it's all to play out something in this world. So like, for example, you know, you think of like the worst type of evil people in this world, like Charles Manson, you know, he had his chart, for example, his formation, his chart made him like as if he's been possessed by a demon, you know. But then his role in the world, so you could say, okay, he had material desires because he wanted to be, right, a leader of a cult and like, you know, and kill people. But okay, the material desires, but in the grand scheme of things, he was playing a role, right, in directing the society and the consciousness of the world in a certain way, whatever that might be. So there's kind of like a karmic global map going on, you know, under Krishna's order, and we're like playing parts in this whole thing. And then on a kind of personal level, we have our own material desires because we're just born, you know, with a certain gift and a curse, right? To put it really black and white. It's not so black and white like that, but then but we all also, because we are the soul and we're not the ahankara, as Bhima Karma was talking about, we have the opportunity as well to use our desires in service to Krishna. So, okay, I'm a psychotherapist, but in my heart and in my mind, I do that service to Krishna. I could try and become a really famous person, right? And for, you know, be a psychic, because there's many of those types of people in the world, right? Trying to become like famous life coaches. And, you know, there's one psychotherapist who literally marketed herself as the best therapist in England. And it's the most bogus thing you could ever do, because there's no such thing as the best therapist in the world. So So she used her qualities and nature to fulfill her material desires, to feed her ego. But I have to always watch myself and see whether I'm doing that or whether I'm doing it in a more sattvic way. And that's for me to always try and make sure I'm choosing the correct path. So anyway, I'll stop there. But that's just my perspective on it.
Any thoughts, Afreen?
Your perspective also like covered another question which I was about to ask.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so, so recently in Delhi, one of the famous Babas got arrested in the ashram because of
Okay.
sexual assault. Like he molested around 17 girls, and like, prior to that also there's no record how many people he have molested, and
That's
done a
just
lot
how
of
many they can have direct knowledge about. Yeah.
so it's like we have a but in the like if we see the birth chart and even in palmistry there are a lot of things we get to know what the person is actually like, as you mentioned, the what characteristics and the ingredients they have of that character. So in the same way, like as you mentioned that Krishna has, we have that like chakra playing our karma and then it will come back to us. So it's the same with them as well. But what
Yeah.
about the free will part? Like they don't choose,
What
they
about the
just
what part? Sorry.
free will.
Sorry.
Free will.
Oh, free will. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
How can we say that the free will they choose is that they actually consciously choose, or they are just a like a doll which is getting directed
Mm,
with what is written in their birth chart or palmistry or whatever.
Right. So it's kind of like a question of why are some people good and why are some people evil? Right.
well,
Is
it's
No,
like
like
it's also
yeah, sorry.
free will and karma, isn't it? It's sort of like that question of what's free will and what
right.
is actually being directed by conditioning and karma.
Religious people are doing all sorts of sexual abuse, childhood abuse. They are molesting children. So from where all this is coming, and it is like so prevalent in religious communities everywhere.
Right. I was just now, before I came on the satsang, reading a section of the Bhagavatam in 7th canto, right? It's just before Nrsimha Lila, right? And right before the Nrsimha who protects his devotees from just that, from child abuse, right? So,
Yeah.
but so the question that actually leads into the Nrsimha Lila is that if Sri Krishna is impartial and everything is him, why does he take the side of the devas and not the asuras and so on? And so, in preamble to the actual answer, which is illustrated through the Leela, one of the shlokas says that all of the three gunas are Sri Krishna's energies, and different beings, right, who are situated in these different gunas. Krishna gives them, imbues them with those different varieties of his energy. And so it says how the tamasika players are imbued with like yakshas and rakshasas, and that basically just means people who harm others, right? Yakshas are kind of like spirits that can take over a place or a tree or a person, and rakshasas are manifest beings that actually basically are just anything, any being who's already belonging in that body who want to do harm to another, right? So these are kind of like two huge categories in tamas, right, bhutas. And so all things are Sri Krishna and all roles are Sri Krishna's, right? And so some people, right, they haven't gone through this cycle of being abuser and abused enough, until they can wake up and start striving. And they're like, you know what, actually I don't want to do this. And I want to get higher out of it, and they can strive. This is then rajas comes out of them instead of giving in, to the animalistic impulses of just me and survive like the lower animals, like the reptile, right? And as we're all here studying psychology and human nature and so on, the reptilian brain, right, is known to us in that nomenclature. So anyways, the tamas beings are basically, you can say, Sri Krishna's more adibhautic nature. And so beings who have not evolved around there, they're going to be only playing in this kind of a realm, or a kshetra, or a field. And those things belong to that field. Right? So bhaktas, we remain witnesses to both the adibhautic beings. So these people, they are being abused. They have been raped. They have been hurt by someone else. Do you want help? I want the revenge. Or I'm going to, so many people that we may meet being people who want to help or heal others that have been hurt. And they sometimes will even try to use people like us, right, to maintain their victimhood, as opposed to rise up out of that and be healed, be helped. So then the abuser and so on, right? So you see, those people who belong to that, they belong to that, and they will keep doing samsara inside of that realm. And Sri Krishna says, right, those kind of people, abuser or abused, right, I will continually, right, and here's anadi karma palam, without beginning that story is, I will continually keep casting them into dark wombs, right, into tamas yoni. And they will, right, because Krishna will, this is part of his eternal nature. This is his tamas bhav. And those beings who want to embody that, they will eternally experience there. And he will give them bodies and stories and everything. But now, if that tamas ceased to exist, how are these other atmas who want to rajas, who want to rise out, even differentiate that? What will they push off of? And you see that everything forms this beautiful, perfect lila. And so, but those people, some of them, even the abusers, sometimes they want to, they can heal also. But so karma is responsible for our birth and right, those activities which are coming out of our birth, but our trajectory, how we respond to those things and how we, right, deal with it and go forward, right, that is by grace. Right, so any of us, right, who are abuser or abused, right, can come from that situation and rise up out of it. So there is a free will, and based on that free will, everything's going to trickle down. So like we've talked about, I know, Afreen, about how that Bhishma, right, how Bhishma describes like the dancer, right, and how the Prakriti is like the lady that the man is dancing with, and Prakriti immediately, right, dances differently depending on the Purusha, but how good of a lead dancer are you? So this is why the main number one thing, right, is, right, aham brahmasmi, that I am Brahma, I am part of Sri Krishna, and so on and so on. But even that comes from grace. And as far as I have read the Shastra, and I'm happy to hear your guys' opinion, but as far as I've read the Shastra, it appears as though this world, this realm is here for a long time to gradually help us evolve from these 8,400,000 species, to gradually rise up. And even a lot of people, they may fall back down and gradually rise up again, and perhaps we have. And out of all these big yuga cycles even, there may be a few who, just like the cream, right, rises from the milk, or like the ghee is made from the milk, and so on. And Sri Krishna likes the soft butter. So it's like here in this Brahmanda, and the cycles and the yugas are going on, and right, all of it's happening. Gradually some atmas who right, want to rise up, Sri Krishna graces them, right? And if they take advantage of that grace he gives them, right, by playing nicely the roles he gives them to play, and through that role, they relate to him, and right, they rise up into better roles, and so on. Like they get liberated out of that, and they can come into a different arena. So that's my take on it. I think that we should probably resolve our conversation soon, but let's have, if you
Yeah.
both want to have any final comments, let's have them.
Yeah, I'm also gonna need to go in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that response. Yeah, and it's a good question. It's a common question, isn't it? You know, what's really controlling us? Do we have power or not? And yeah, I suppose yeah, my only sort of addition, or not addition, but comment is like we have, you know, like I was saying, we have a certain makeup, psychophysical makeup, but
Mm,
we also have the ability to choose. So it's sort of like two things are going on, and that's the kind of
mm,
struggle. I think that's the human struggle. I think that is exactly the struggle, and
mm,
but we have the opportunity in the human form of life to be able
mm.
to become conscious of Krishna. It's not possible in an animal form,
And
you know,
especially for
as much.
us,
Yeah,
we are. And I think that's the most important point. You know,
yeah,
I think that, and like there's this shloka from Vallabhacharya that says that, you know, like loke swastyam tata vedi haristu nakarishiti, right? And pushti marga stito yasmat sakshino bhavata kilaha. That, you know, Krishna's not, those souls who he has, right, given grace, right? Anugraha is the word in Bhagavatam used again and again for when someone is graced, someone is, you know, through love or goodwill given something, anugraha, right? Don't bother about this Vedic stuff, and don't bother
mm,
about the Lokic stuff. They will take care of themselves. And just know that we are in
yeah,
Krishna Ashraya. He's the only one who has that absolute perspective, who can really answer any of those questions. Why is this? Why are these people doing this?
yeah,
Bhart's always giving you these amazing stories. Oh, it's because in the past life this guy did this and that happened, and then this Deva
mm,
came, but this Rakshasa came, and it's like it's always, you know, only Krishna
mm,
understands the larger plot here. And we can just kind of be simple about it and say, let go of that and use that holding power to hold on to Sri
mm.
Krishna.
I
And
was just
he's got it.
I was just going to say it's about control, isn't it? It's sort of like we want to change material nature, our nature, or we want to be able
Mm,
to ensure that we make the right choice and we choose Krishna. But
yeah.
actually, it really is just letting go and actually just surrendering
And it's
and
like
knowing
by
that.
that opposite direction of the bead, right? Then the intelligence will actually come from that, not by
Yeah.
trying to use the intelligence from the current
Yes.
Ahankar and answer all these questions. And then by the time we're dead,
Yeah.
we didn't get anywhere.
Yeah. And also, just
Yeah, good.
the very question that Afreen is putting forward, the very question, Afreen, also shows that you are already wanting to be in Krishna's shelter.
Hmm.
You're already wanting to evolve, because otherwise you wouldn't ask such a question. So, yeah, it's
And
interesting.
you wouldn't have made us think about
Yeah.
it. Any closing remark you would like to give, Afreen?
Was very insightful. Like, I need time to process.
Yeah.
But also, yes, it was insightful answer that, I always think, why do these sexual abusers who, molesters and people, why they freely roaming? But it made me understand that they also have a chakra of their own and a time.
And what I'm curious, if I just push you and say, what do you think? What's your
I
answer? How would you answer that?
My answer is that there is a free will still, conscious, unconscious. They still have a free will.
They still have, sorry, what is it? Free
Free
will.
will.
They
Okay,
still have a
okay.
free will, whether consciously or
Yeah.
Right.
unconsciously. They're consciously choosing to do an action.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's how. And
Yeah, because you can be attracted to children but not do it. There are many pedophiles that have attraction to children, but they do not do the act because they know that it's wrong. So you see how that shows that there is free will
Hmm.
there, even with that
Hmm.
really deranged desire.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm.
You know, I just, as a closing remark, I just, you know, as you were speaking just now, saying that, Afreen, I was reminded how I guess my real awakening of compassion, like that quality of compassion, came when I was in my early 20s, or maybe even before I was 20, when I started coming through some of the pain that I experienced as a young person. And then it sort of crossed over this certain point when I fully surrendered to, like, the pain of it, whatever, and just didn't stopped avoiding it and pushing against it. Then it sort of came over that and I started for the first time feeling, oh my God, how horrible must those people feel identifying themselves as that role that isn't them, as a, pedophile, or, whatever it may be, a murderer of this, who knows, whatever Rakshasa roles that we've all played, even, whatever. But like, how horrible that person must feel inside, stuck inside of that persona, and just, paining themselves. And so I think that, it's like, anyways, by feeling that deep compassion that I started feeling for them from that, it's like some people are even in that situation, and when their free will wakes up enough, and I think probably it's like we get suffering pushed on us more and more, and progressively more and more and more and more, until the Atma pushes back. And I think that we attract the suffering to us in specific categories. You will suffer more and more and more until you say, oh, I can't take that, I don't want this anymore. And then you will get some opportunity. And then if you fail in that, you will get more and more. Now you're even one category lower. Or otherwise, you can come one category up.
This is making me realize, the journey I had with different people, like how I was sexually, not physically abused when I was a child. So yes, it makes sense. Like you do feel compassion. Even I felt the same way when now I think about, the teacher who used to beat me up. I don't feel anger towards her anymore.
Wow. Wow.
That's
Mm.
amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And would we, for me, do you feel the same? Like, would you now give up what you had to go through if you have to give up this compassion you got? Because now that we got it, right, that's priceless. I could not let go of that. I willingly, happily pay that price. Okay, we could, obviously, the more we do
Yes.
satsang, you see how it just wants to continue.
Opens
So
up.
thank you so much for, yeah, okay, so Jai Shri
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai
Good.
Shri Krishna.
Next time.